Right, everybody, welcome back to the Legit Crypto Lounge, the place that brings together real projects with real people. For today's AMA, we're joined by the team behind DeFi Skeptic, and we've got Chris, Jake, and Kieran with us. In terms of the structure for the next hour or so, we will find out more about the team behind the token and a bit about their background and experience. Then we can have a look into the details of the project itself and see what sets it apart. And then, like I said, we can have a Q&A at the end for any general questions any of the community members have. So, Chris, before we get into the detail of the project itself, it'd be great to understand a little bit more about you and the team behind the token. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick intro about you and your teammates in terms of your background, area of expertise, and any crypto experience you have, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us again. So I'm Chris. I'm the founder of DeFi Skeptic. We started this platform back in about early mid-January. I'm accompanied here with Kieran, who's our web and cyber guy, as well as Jake, who's our community management professional, and then Joe, who's not on the call. I've known him for quite some time. He runs a company that he owns that does UI and UX work. So he'll be assisting us in our version 2 of our website, providing some UI and UX skills. So that's the team. I myself have been in crypto since 2015. That's when I bought my first Bitcoin and sold it way too early, as I had no idea what would happen happened. But got into DeFi specifically around 2018, 2019. And then, as BSC sort of took off in 2020, was all over that. Kieran, if you can talk, I'll hand it over to you for yourself. If not, I can introduce you. All right, so I'll talk on his behalf.
If you could, sorry, I'll probably be more available towards the end of this AMA.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. Yeah, so Kieran is pretty, along the lines, I guess you would say, of our cyber guy. He's got a lot of cyber and coding knowledge. His goal with DeFi Skeptic is pretty similar aligned to mine, just to overall better DeFi. He wants to bring sort of a community education type piece to the platform as well in the future, just because there's a huge lack of just overall education in the DeFi space. Being that, I think 3 or 4% of the world population owns a crypto asset. So there's 96% of the world out there that doesn't even know what DeFi is or how to use it. And even that 4% in DeFi, bulk of them probably don't know, everything they could or should know. So there's definitely a need for education out there. And then we've got Jake. Jake, you on the line? I see you on here, but are you able to talk, buddy?
Yeah, I can talk real quick. Yeah, I'm Jake. I have been in crypto for probably about 3 years now, into DeFi for the last year, and I dove in pretty deep the late part of last year, getting involved. Started getting involved with communities and kind of watched from the background, understood how the community worked, how to best understand community outreach, and then I got involved with Chris beginning of this year with a separate project and kind of helped moderate with that and learned a little bit more about Chris and Kieran. That's where we all met. And yeah, I just kind of been growing in the community, moderating for other projects. And when Chris reached out and asked if I wanted to help with community management on this project, I was 100% on board. So I look to just kind of help with back-end community stuff. Anybody have any questions, and help direct our moderators.
I appreciate it, man. And so myself and Kieran, being that we'll be handling project funds, and he'll be handling a lot of the code regarding some of our dApps and things of that nature. Him and I are KYC certified through InterFi Network, so that's already certified. You can find it on our site for the link for that. Just to add that in there.
Perfect. And is there any plans to Doxx anytime in the future?
I don't know, maybe one day. I was in a project a while back before I ended up leaving it, and I was Doxx there, and I was getting messages to my work email and all over my LinkedIn, and I think Kieran at one point got a threat. I don't even know what it was about. Just somebody didn't like him or something, and ended up threatening
Right.
him in the chat. And it's too much. DeFi is crazy, so we're not looking to Doxx right now. Maybe as it calms down and people aren't trying to threaten your life over like losing $5, then maybe we'll do that one day. But yeah, not in the foreseeable future.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess it does make sense. There are
Yeah, I
people
mean,
that
I've got
will.
a family, I've got a kid, I've got a wife. I'm not looking to put that at risk for
Mhm.
people's craziness.
And so have you launched any tokens previously? You said you were
Yeah,
involved in
so
one.
I did one, which was a similar sort of platform. We've took it in a totally different direction with some of the stuff we're doing. But the vetting aspect I came up with last year around August, and I ended up launching a platform in January, and I ended up leaving about a week after the token launched, just because the co-owner and myself, our operating agreement, we were a registered entity, a registered LLC. We had an operating agreement that was, official. It stated any project's decisions financially or, just that would control the direction of the project would need to be mutually agreed upon. And it was just causing too much rift and too much delays. So I was like, hey man, you got it. I'm just gonna go leave and start my own thing. So I ended up leaving that, and shortly after launching this platform, DeFi Skeptic, which will be taking into the future.
Okay, nice. And what real world experience are you bringing to the table?
So I'm a real life project manager. So it just kind of naturally flows into managing a DeFi project. I've been in the world of finance for, I don't know, over a decade. And then in the world of project management for quite some time as well. So it just kind of fits that, coming into a DeFi project and sort of creating one. It's all familiar territory in the sense of management.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. Right, okay, let's get into the token itself then, your project that you're creating. Do you want to give us an overview of what you're hoping to achieve with DeFi Skeptic?
Oh, absolutely, man. So DeFi Skeptic, and I'll sort of go over what we have in our doc section. If anybody wants to follow along, that's kind of the sequence of events I guess you could storm through the project with. But we started this when we realized there was a gap between the users of DeFi and legitimate projects. So you get into DeFi as a beginner, or even as somebody that's been in it for years, and there's just so many projects coming out. Over half of them are scams. They're going to get rugged or honeypotted or whatever the situation may be. But there's a gap there, right? So people don't know they're going to get scammed. It ends up happening after the fact. If they knew it, they wouldn't put money into it. Um, and our goal is not to find scams. Our goal is to find good projects and highlight them as non-scams. Um, so what we want to do is put a dent into the $10 billion that was stolen from DeFi users in 2021. We're going to do that through just some strategic partnerships as well as our own products and services, and hopefully we can put a dent into that. So this ecosystem of DeFi Skeptic will be powered by Skeptic Token that will fund the products and services. So when somebody purchases them, they'll use Skeptic Token to buy them. And we've tried to design the token in a way that would appeal to both long-term enthusiasts, people that are actually interested in the platform and its long-term visions and mission. And we also wanted it to appeal to just the average trader, like a short-term trader. So we designed the token to sort of appeal to both crowds, which we'll get into. The total supply is 500 million. We'll be fair launching with 0 tokens sold before launch. And that's going to be, due to the way that we're conducting our Tokenlist Fundraiser, which I guess you could say is like a private sale or public sale, whatever, but we're not selling any tokens. So we can get into the details of that as well. But yeah, that's a quick little intro.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, let's separate it out then. So we'll come on to the token itself, but let's focus on what you're creating. So do you want to talk through this vetting procedure that you're looking to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you head up to products and services and you go to project vetting, you can click on vetting process. And the vetting process will take you through sort of how we're doing our vetting. So when a project applies, they'll click on get vetted. And then once they're, in the streamline of applications, this is sort of how it takes off. So things we look at is the project team, pairs and liquidity, wallets, pre-launch details, post-launch details, and that's everything through BSC scan, through their own platform, their social medias. How did they market it? Getting into details about the project, the smart contract. It's pretty extensive. It can run anywhere from half an hour to an hour and a half, just depending on how many people are on the call. And that's just the interview portion. We do our own information collecting prior to that to sort of bounce questions and information off of the team, as well as collect additional details from them. And then after that interview, we take everything we've compiled and we, double check it for accuracy as well. So independently audit everything they've told us as well during that interview process. Before they can even get an interview with us, they have to meet that initial review criteria. So they have to have an audit on their contract. Doesn't have to be from any, super expensive provider. They just need to have a third set of eyes on it. That way we know that they've taken steps to ensure their contract is, doesn't have any vulnerabilities, and just allows us to look at that audit, bounce it against our own, auditing of that contract. And that's where we start. So they also has to be doxed or KYC'd. If they have liquidity, they'll have to have that liquidity locked. So it could be a coin or an NFT. They don't necessarily have to have liquidity, but if they do, it needs to be locked. As well as project wallets have to be accessible by more than one team member, whether that's through a multi-sig or just, having the seeds given to more than one person. That's a must, because if it's just held by one person and one person only, if something happens to them, if they die or get put in the hospital, go into a coma, something like that, then the project's going to have a really hard time if they're relying on, interactions with the contract. So we make sure that there's some sort of redundancy in that. And that's before they even get an interview with us. Once we do the interview, at the end, we'll go through everything. We'll make a decision on whether to pass them or mark them as needs work. If they need work, we'll provide them, the reasons that they didn't pass. And if they fix them, they can, we'll pass them if they fix those issues. If they don't pass, we don't make that public. We're not looking to give any projects a black eye or, like belittle their project or anything like that. We don't want to cause them any negativity. We'll just, say, hey, you didn't pass. Here's why. Come back when you fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do pass, then we'll put them on the website. That gets their foot into the door of interacting with our ecosystem in a bunch of other different ways, as well as working with some of our partners and affiliates. And they'll have leverage to use some of our products and services as well. But yeah, that's kind of DeFi Skeptic in a nutshell. The way the token fuses into that, the token is going to power that ecosystem of products and services.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And the types of tokens that you're looking to get on board, I guess to you it doesn't matter whether they're a meme token or full of utility. It's more about whether they are legitimate. Is that right?
That's correct. So I don't, if your project is just NFT platform that sells pictures of dogs and they're like cartoon dogs, that's totally fine. Where you can be a meme if you want. The point is that you're a legitimate project. That's really what we're trying to establish, just the legitimacy of DeFi.
Yeah, great. Okay, and when you're going into the details of things like the smart contract, who is going to be undertaking that? Have you got? I take it you've obviously got a specialist that can look into the detail.
Yeah, so if we do internal auditing on our end, we'll be using an affiliate that will be conducting that. I myself, I understand Solidity enough to where I can see typical vulnerabilities. I can code basic tokens. I mean, if you wanted to do like anything crazy, super 1,000,000,000 APY rebase token, like I can't code that, but I can code a basic token and I can check for basic vulnerabilities. But we're not auditing it. What we're doing is ensuring it already has an audit, going through the contract ourselves, looking for things that we know to be typical vulnerabilities, such as having transaction restrictions, tax restrictions, mint functions, things of that nature that would allow an ownable contract to be maliciously interacted with by the contract owner. There's only so much that a contract owner can do. So we just look for those typical things, in addition to ensuring that they already have an audit. That project can purchase an audit from us. If that's the case, then we'll have an audit conducted by our affiliate auditor.
Okay, and sticking on topic of this smart contract, when you're looking for things like you mentioned about minting, because one of the thoughts I had in my head was a really good project that you potentially would have had on board had everything that you would want it to have: team fully doxed, great project, great utility. They even went as far as at relaunch getting a certic audit. But what was highlighted within that audit was a minting function, which was then used by the contract dev to strip out all of the LP and ruin the project. But if that type of thing happens, say there is a minting function within the smart contract, would you still accept that into your platform and just highlight that could be an issue?
Yeah, so it's not a pass or fail when it comes to having that function in there. What we're looking for is just general information and transparency, which is what's going to dictate whether a project passes or fails. We're not denying a project because they had a specific function in their contract that would be highlighted in an audit. We're just referencing the audit for to highlight some of those things that have been brought up. But our goal with the vetting aspect is strictly transparency based, informational based, which would deem whether they pass or not. It's not a recommendation for investment. It's not a hey, this project is safe. It's here's a ton of information that we've compiled that would likely take you days or weeks to get on your own. We compiled it in one easy digestible format for you to look over, and now you can make your own educated decision whether or not you want to put money into it. That's our goal, is just to give the user tons of information so they can make their own decision. Whereas like that information, yeah, you might be able to get it on your own if you know where to look and how to look, and it will probably take you a lot of time to get it. Doing it the way we're doing it through this interview process and some of the tools that we use, I mean, we can collect it and compile it relatively quick. Just a matter of 5 to 7 hours or so. We can get a report put out from start to finish of interacting with a project.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. I think definitely beneficial to have everything in one place so people can, or potential investors can see, everything in one place. But So you say that the process can take 5 to 7 hours. So say I'm a project and I'm looking to get on board on your platform. What you've explained the process. What's the cost involved from a project's point of view?
So we charge $150 for vetting, and that's just really to compensate us for our time. We're not looking to make a ton of money off of it. I know there's other platforms out there that might do something similar or might charge 20 grand for an audit or 5 grand for a KYC. This is crazy. KYC does not cost 5 grand. Don't ever pay that if you're starting a project. It's dollars to run a KYC check when you're doing them in bulk. If you got a bulk agreement with a processor, you can get KYCs for less than $5 to run through an automated system to check documents. So anybody paying 5 grand for that it's crazy. We're making our services priced at a rate that makes sense, and not just taking advantage of the hype that is in the crypto sphere right now, which is the reason that a lot of these providers are able to charge what they charge. It's just hype. Charging 15, 20 grand for an audit from that big auditor that everybody knows, it's not necessary. They're not doing anything different from an audit that you would get from Solid Proof or InterFi, who charges anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. They're all looking at the same stuff. You're just paying for a name, and that name comes with hype. But at the end of the day, you're just paying for a name. So we're looking to price our stuff fairly, and not try to rip anybody off. So $150 to get vetted.
And that's for the full process to get a pass.
Yep.
It's $150.
Correct.
It seems cheap, as in like extremely cheap. Presumably, there's more ways for you to monetize Skeptic for yourselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got a bunch of products and services we're putting out, which you can find under Skeptic Token and hit the products and services portion of that informational document. This is strictly just vetting.
Okay.
We're charging $150. Working through some of our affiliates, like we partner with Apollo Ventures to do vetting for their launchpad. They might charge a different rate, and we'll get a kickback from that. That kickback will be used to do buys of SKP and follow the same procedure that we would do if it was just somebody buying vetting from us. But yeah, $150 to get your project vetted through DeFi Skeptic if you come through us directly.
Okay, nice. You've got other products and services then, I understand, that will be ready as well. So one of them is an airdrop. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so if you hit Skeptic Token at the top, that'll take you to our docs section, our documents. And then you hit products and services there on the left. You can see what we've sort of got in the works as far as where we're at right now. So in production, we've got project vetting. That's what we've been doing. In development, we've got DeFi Skeptic drops, which we're going to be calling DS drops. Those are just promotional airdrop campaigns that a vetted project can do. So it really starts with vetting. Once you're vetted, you get your foot in the door of the DeFi Skeptic ecosystem, and it allows you to take advantage of our affiliates, our partners, and all the products and services that we offer as well. And then the way that would work is they would supply project tokens that would get sent to the DS Drops DApp or tier contract. And as a user, you would take Skeptic token and you would purchase a tier, tiers 1 through 3, and that would determine how much of the airdrop you got. And how it would work for the project is they supply tokens to that DS Drop contract. And in return, they'll get an AMA, they'll get promotions, they'll get marketing through our ecosystem, and as well as any type of assistance that our affiliates and partners are willing to provide them as well. And that's our first product, I guess you could say, that is getting pushed out after token launches. And then in the future, you can see some of the other ones we have. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves and then start creating, some expectations. So more to come. There's a couple more after what's already listed. We don't have a roadmap. The token is not funding development. We're developing this on our own with some friendships that we've made over the years, as well as some partners that we have sort of working to develop some of these things for us. Whereas they would get sort of a cut of, I guess, the revenue that would come in, aside from just paying thousands of dollars to push these type of things out. And that's the benefit of what we're doing, right? So if you have partners and affiliates that are like-minded, you're able to work together and create things together that are beneficial for the space while not screwing each other over from a fiduciary standpoint, right? So like if I'm partnered up with another group that has some sort of positive impact on DeFi and they're all about working for DeFi, they're more willing to help us out in our journey as opposed to just some random project that wants them to do something for them. So strategic partners and affiliates is key to bettering DeFi, in my opinion, and key to our platform. So that's a little bit about the products and services.
Yeah, great stuff. So the promotional airdrop campaign and how that works, you mentioned about a tiered system, tiers 1 to 3. So is that if you own a certain amount of Skeptic tokens, you'll be within different level tiers for the airdrop? How does the tier
so you
system
would
work?
purchase the tier with Skeptic tokens.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and it'd be a nominal value. I think we're starting tier 1 off at like $20, and then scaling up from there with a 10% discount each additional tier. So nothing crazy. Again, we're moderately pricing everything to be fair. I'm sure we could put $500 price tag on it, and some people out there might pay it, but we're not looking to do that. We're really just looking to get paid for the work and our time, while at the same time providing something beneficial to the space.
Yeah, and I guess these keen price points that you're introducing will help your platform in the long run because you're going to get more eyes to your project, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, if you price things fairly, people will potentially, in theory, that's the plan. You price things fairly and people will come to you because you're fairly priced.
Yeah, absolutely. So the vetting service will be ready at launch and then the airdrops is in development. So do you have an idea of when that will be ready?
So we need the token to launch first before we can do DS drops, because the token is going to be a payment system for that. So once the tokens launch, we can start conducting a couple live mainnet tests on that. It's already basically ready. We're really just waiting for the token to launch so we can conduct some mainnet tests.
Okay. And so when are you looking to launch the actual token itself?
So we're going to be opening up our Tokenlist Fundraiser here probably later today or early tomorrow. I'm sure Kieran might be able to give us a for sure, but that'll run for a few days or until it fills, kind of whatever comes first. We're working with some friends of one of our partners who there's 2 investment groups. That might have an impact on how fast we fill. It might not. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we're looking to raise 250 BNB, and if that fills within the first day or a couple days, we'll do about probably a week or so of additional AMAs and Twitter Spaces, some promoting type services, and then we'll go to fair launch. We'll be fair launching with 75% supply, and then about a quarter of the BNB collected from the tokenless sale. We can get all into the allocation and stuff like that too.
Yep. Okay, let's just go back to your utilities and we'll come on to the tokenomics and the pre-sale.
Yeah, for sure.
Private sale structure. So one thing I did notice when I was doing a bit of research was one of your future plans in terms of this merger acquisition and looking to strip out LP from failing projects. Do you want to talk us through your plans for that?
Yeah, so that's a pretty exciting utility we want to add, or at least for me, it's exciting because I've been in failing projects before as an investor. I'm sure a lot of people probably have as well. So if you click that there on the left on the bottom, it'll pull up the merger and acquisition strategy. And what we intend for this to be is a DApp where the project owner of a failing or failed project can go to and interact with and conduct this merger entirely on their own. And the reason that we're doing this is because I think you can classify DeFi projects in three categories. So there's good projects, ones that are successful, right? And then there's just obvious scammy projects, ones that rug pull and honeypot and all that. And then there's projects that have just failed or they're failing. And it's not any fault to the owners per se. Maybe it was just a bad idea, or they had a team collapse or something externally happened that just caused them to fail. And there's tons of projects like this. If you go to CoinMarketCap, you can filter out BSC or ETH or wherever. You can filter out market cap, and you can see hundreds of projects that are just super low market cap. Like when you're talking liquidity in their token, less than 30 grand, less than 50 grand of liquidity. And I mean, they've been around for, a year or more, sometimes multiple years. And again, that's no fault to them. I mean, they've just failed. Not every idea is successful, especially if you're ever started a business. You know that it's very likely that as a first year business owner, your business might fail. And that's just how it works, even in DeFi. So our goal with this acquisition / merger utility is to find those projects and offer a alternative by benefiting everybody. Everybody wins. And it's literally everybody wins because we're going to merge their liquidity over just the BNB. We're not taking over the project as in the sense of developing it. We're not going to, develop their products for them or anything like that. We're strictly merging them to us. The way that would work is we would ingest their BNB. That BNB would be used for a one-time tax-excluded buy of Skeptic token. Those tokens would be retained, and then everybody merging over from that existing token to ours would be able to claim their Skeptic tokens at whatever conversion rate is applicable for that project. The dev team will get a small payout. Everybody from that migrating project will be rolling over to something new, something likely better, something that's focused on longevity. The current user base will benefit from that new boost in community members, that additional liquidity, that additional growth, and then just the platform itself. Obviously, have a pretty big boost as far as word of mouth marketing goes and things of that nature. And I think this will be a lot more apparent once we do our first one of how powerful it will be. But I mean, think if you had a project with, both projects had 20, 50 grand, 100 grand in liquidity. Both projects had 2, 3, 4,000 members in their TG, and all of a sudden one merged with the other one and brought all of its funds and all of its users. That can be very powerful, and it can explode your project huge every time it happens. So that's what we're looking to do, is provide a way for failing projects to sort of relinquish that burden, get their users into something better, and at the same time that will boost our own project.
Yeah, I think it's a cracking idea. It's not something I've ever seen before. Is this something that you've thought up yourself?
Yeah, so I've never seen anybody do this. I pitched this idea to 2 people a while back. I don't know if they went and did anything with it. I haven't talked to them since I talked to them about it. But as far as I know, nobody's doing this. I haven't seen anybody do this. And it would really only be in 2 scenarios. So, like, is their liquidity locked or is it unlocked? You can see that there on the left. We have 2 separate strategies for how that would kind of play out.
Yeah, so I guess the unlocked one is pretty straightforward, but when it's locked, let's just click on that. So when it's locked, I guess you have to wait for the unlocking, do you?
No, so if it's locked, in collaboration with the project owners, we'll announce a migration window, and any of the project wallets, things such as marketing, dev wallet, stuff of that nature, they'll be excluded right off the bat. And what would happen would be the migrating project users would send their tokens to our merger DApp. Our merger DApp would collect them during that migration window. Once that window closes, the DApp will take those tokens, sell them off to pull the BNB out of that existing project's liquidity pool. It'll take that BNB, it will buy SKP, and then those tokens will be able to be claimed by everybody that sent their old tokens in.
So in order to do it, would everybody have to send their tokens to your DApp, and then you would?
Yes, if liquidity was locked, yes.
Okay, so you're banking on, the vast majority of people, because a lot of these projects, I'm guessing, like you said, 6 months, a year old, half of them are like almost dead tokens. People have forgotten about them and stuff. It's still,
for sure.
it still relies on them being active enough to be able to know what's going on and send their tokens to you.
We'll play it by ear too. If their liquidity is like a month out from being unlocked, we can just wait. But I mean, if it's locked for a year or something crazy, I mean, we'll just have to use the locked strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept. Have you got are you in talks with any projects at the minute that are interested?
I am. Yeah, I've talked to a couple different ones, a handful of projects that seemed receptive to the idea and potentially interested once we got launched and everything was running smooth.
Nice. And when because this is one of the elements that's in or going to be developed in the future and stuff. Are you starting to work on this now, or is this going to be started post launch?
This will be the next app, I guess you could say, or contract that will come after the DS drops. All of our other products and services, those will just be services that we provide that are paid for. Don't necessarily need a smart contract to handle those. The custodial key service we could run for extra security through a smart contract, but again, it wouldn't necessarily be required. So this will go into development once our DS drops application is running.
Okay, nice. And do you have any idea
Hopefully
how long?
we'll have it by the end of the year.
End of the year. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll throw that out there. Could be sooner, but that would be our goal, is to have it by the end of the year. I don't want to give any hard dates for anything that we're doing, because that'll set expectations, and if they're not met, people will get mad.
And they definitely will as well. Yeah, okay, I like that. I like it a lot. So you've also mentioned a couple of times about affiliates and partners, and looking on your website, it looks like you've got one, AutoCrypt.
Yeah, I need to throw Apollo Ventures on there as well. We just partnered with them to do their vetting of their launchpad.
And so I'm just going to go back on it. And AutoCrypt specifically, then how have you partnered with those?
Yeah, so AutoCrypto, their primary goal as a platform is to help people achieve financial independence, and they do that by allowing people to purchase tiers of a AI-driven algorithmic trading bot. So you can just invest in money, and it goes through hundreds of different cryptocurrencies that it'll trade for you and sort of generate money for you, kind of allowing you to achieve financial independence, and that's their mission. So what we do for them to support that mission is we're integrated in all their social medias. When we publish a vetted project, that gets automatically sent to them, so their user base can have full awareness of that, as opposed to having them have to, catch it on our social medias or on our website or something. They don't even have to be interested in our project at all, and they'll still get that information.
Okay, cool. And have you got any more partners that you're in talks with?
Aside from Apollo Ventures, which we're already partnered with, it's just we haven't put on the website just yet. We're in talks with a few different AMA groups. So one thing we want to do is form a sort of collective of platforms. It doesn't even have to be tokens. It can be AMA providers, KYC providers, things of that nature. And what we want to do is form a collective of partners and affiliates that all share sort of the same goal. Whatever they're providing to the space, it just has to share the same goal, right? To make DeFi better. I think by doing that, by networking that way and forming those alliances, everybody just benefits from it. When you have got a group of like-minded people that are all supporting the same goal, and everybody can provide a little bit to the table in their own way, it's just that much stronger than somebody trying to do it on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you mentioned originally, there's so many scams out there, and what was it, 10 billion worth of scams in 2021?
Oh yeah, over 10 billion just last year, just in DeFi, not even all of crypto.
That's just absolutely insane.
Out of curiosity, did you get a chance to look at that annual crypto report I sent over the other night?
I haven't looked at it, man. Not yet. It's on my to-do list, though.
Yeah, but like you say, there's plenty of people coming into this space who do want to make a difference and have a positive impact, so that it can be cleaned up and stuff. If we can, those guys can all work together and stuff, we can make it a much better space. And projects like yours, who are genuinely trying to make a difference, it's gonna help in the long run. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean it's a mutual benefit too, because if we're affiliated and partnered with, say, a KYC provider, and when we provide vetting for a launch pad, well then when we have a vetted project on that launch pad who needs a KYC provider, we have one already we can give them. It's just that type of inner circle, of partnerships and affiliates that where it just everybody benefits. There's really no negative to it. It's only positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on then to the token itself, because we haven't spoken about it too much in terms of how that all links in with your utilities.
Yeah, sure.
From an investor's point of view, in terms of investing in the token itself, how do the utilities feed and support the chart?
Yeah, so it would start off with our main purpose of the token, which is just a utility token for our ecosystem. But the way it would work is when somebody uses SKP to buy something, a product or service, 15% is burned. The 85% is considered platform revenue. But the way it feeds into the token is through the taxes. So when you look at our tax structure, you'll see the token fund, which we'll talk about. But for a standard buy, like if you just bought from KuCoin or Dex Tools or PancakeSwap, something like that, there'll be a 10% tax, as well as sells. But what we're going to do is implement a discount swapper, which will be a smart contract, and its sole job is to just take BNB that it receives, tax the BNB, and then buy the tokens, and then send the user their tokens with the tax already taken out. And that allows us to tax without having to get tokens that we then have to sell off for BNB. So if you've ever seen any sort of token that has a tax or reflections or something along that nature, there's always these like little red candle sell events that seem like they're pretty scheduled, and that's because the contract will accumulate X amount of tokens and whatever it's set to accumulate, and then it sells them off for BNB, and then that BNB is sent to like the marketing wallet or dev wallet or something. So you have sell events that are triggered as a result of that tax. So we want to implement a smart contract that allows us to bypass that as sort of like a backdoor way to still get the same BNB, but we're not having to do it by selling tokens. So it's positive for the chart, for the token itself. And we'll get into the tokenomics, but first, we're going to be conducting the Tokenlist Fundraiser, and that is looking to collect 250 BNB through fundraising with a minimum of 0.5. There'll be no max contribution. There's no max because we're not selling tokens. There's no reason to have a max. I mean, if you want to put all 250 in yourself, go for it. You're not going to negatively impact the token because no tokens are being sold. And then the way it would be used is for both initial liquidity and the initial burn fund, roughly 20 to 25% of that, so somewhere around like 50 to 60 BNB would go into each of those two. And then about half of that capital raise will go to pre and post launch marketing. And we say post launch because, I mean, you still have to, keep getting the word out there, keep conducting, different types of communication channels even after launch. So pre and post pre and post launch marketing. And the way that this will work is that these individuals, through the Tokenlist Fundraiser, they will receive 3% of every buy, sell, and buy and burn on the token forever. So the way that it would work for you getting paid back if you were strictly just looking at volume would be 250, because that's what we're raising, times 100 divided by 3, because it's 3% of every transaction. So that would be 8,300 BNB in total project volume. And BNB's price right now is
not very good,
$304. So that would be 2.5 million in total project lifetime volume, where you would get your contribution paid back if we were just relying on that tax. And then everything after that would just be considered, going into your pocket. But what we're going to do is they're going to also get a portion of the burn fund's interest until they're paid back. And we're going to be personally adding about 50 BNB of our own funds to an interest fund, and interest from that allocated to those contributors to help pay them back as well. So it's not just going to be volume dependent. So whereas if it was volume dependent, you would look at getting paid back somewhere around $2.5 million in total project volume. And when you think of like the average launch and CMC, CG, 2.5, it can come pretty quick, just depending on the project. So we don't anticipate it will take too long to get that contribution paid back. But that's a little bit about the tokenless sale and how taxes. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that seems like really reasonable. I know that another token used the same feature like quite recently when they launched and stuff, but I'm pretty confident that the volume needed to break even was quite a bit higher. So yeah, 2.5 million seems like really achievable to get your money back and start earning what effectively is passive income, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we're going to also have that additional volume coming from the buy and burns that'll be directed from the burn fund. So part of that 250, 20 to 25%, so right around like 50 to 60 BNB will be put into the burn fund. So right off the start, the liquidity pool in the burn fund will be at a 1-to-1 ratio. So the token will be liquidity backed by the burn fund. And the way that will work, if you go to tax structure, I think it's the next one down, token fund. Keep scrolling down.
Structure. Oh, okay.
There you go. So the token fund is just what we're calling it, and it's really just a tax receiving wallet. So that tax, that 6% of buys and sells, and then the 5% if they use the discount swapper, it goes into this token fund. And 70% of the money received in here, which would be BNB, will get put into the burn fund. 30% will be redirected back to the token for promoting, marketing, things of that nature. The token is not funding development. We're funding development independently, in addition to platform revenue. So the token tax is strictly for the token. So that expenses is just really marketing and promoting, whatever fund, whatever costs are involved with that. The burn fund, however, if you go next one down, the burn fund acts as a go up a little bit. There you go. Yeah, the burn fund acts as a deflationary mechanism. This is what we built into the token to sort of have it appeal to other people, right? That way it's just not like a utility token. It's got something to it that would excite people, and this is that feature. The way it would work is that as it receives funds, the funds are invested into liquidity pool farms, and then 1 to 2 times a month, we're not going to disclose the date or times. That way people don't try to target them as buy and sell opportunities. But 1 to 2 times a month, that interest will be pooled. At the start, 50% will be used for a buy and burn on Skeptic token. 30% will be compounded, just reinvested back in, and 20% will be sent to those tokenless sale contributors as a means of getting them paid back quicker. That way they're not volume reliant. Once they're paid back, this will revert back to the burn. So it'll be 70% going to buy and burns and 30% compounded. And that just gives us a way to have a deflationary mechanism that is not volume dependent. So it'll be starting out with funds, and those funds will be compounded. That fund will continue to grow whether there's any volume on the token or not. Obviously, the more volume on the token, the bigger that fund will grow, and the stronger it will be with its buy and burns. But it's not volume dependent. It will grow regardless. Those buy and burns will grow regardless over time. And yeah, it's a pretty exciting, at least in my opinion, deflationary mechanism that we can put into it, to where it's not something that just strictly revolves around trade volume. Trade volume will have a positive impact on it, but it's not trade volume reliant.
And it is really important to have other aspects and utilities that can be used to help with the token, where even like you said, when volume does come down, because a lot of these reflection tokens that are purely volume dependent, as soon as that volume drops off, that's it. People get scared, they sell off, and that's it, they're done and stuff. So you need to have other elements like you're producing to be able to help support it along the way and stuff. In terms of these farms, then you're looking to use the interest earned for the buy and burns, aren't you?
Yeah, so the core money that's put into them, that doesn't get taken out. The interest will get pooled and used in the 2 ways established there. And
Okay.
The first way being until those pre-sale or those tokenless sale contributors get paid back, and then it reverts to the second way after they've been paid back. The tokenless sale contributors, they'll get 3% of every buy, sell, and buy and burn forever. But in addition to that, to get them paid back quicker, they'll get part of this burn fund interest until they're paid back.
And have you done figures on this? How quickly do you anticipate?
I have. I'm not gonna share them because they may not be they may not pan out to be true. So I don't want to set any expectations. I mean, you can do them pretty relatively easy with Excel if you know how to use Excel. Just calculate like a average daily volume on a token, and you can come up pretty quick with a expectation of when a contributor would get paid back. I'll say it's not going to be very long.
Okay. Fair enough. And going back to this discount swapper, this -2%, that's like really, really intriguing. I like that element because a lot of tokens that have come to us have said, they've created this new thing within the smart contract where it doesn't create sell. And there's no red candles on the chart for them. they've worked a way around it, and then actually it comes to launch and the contract's all messed up, and it's a failed launch and stuff. So this feels like a really good way of being able to bypass that as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. It's just a backdoor contract. It's a separate smart contract, and its sole purpose is to just receive BNB, where it will tax the BNB. So if anybody's familiar with how a token tax typically works, you put your BNB into PancakeSwap or KuCoin or whatever, and it sends it to the pool. The pool buys tokens, and then the tokens come back to you. But on their way back to you, they get taxed. And that project then receives its own tokens as tax. And now it can keep those tokens and do whatever with, or typically the contract will have an auto swap feature to where it just swaps them straight to BNB. And it does this by selling the tokens against their own chart. So you'll end up with a sell event. So by doing it this way, we can bypass that entirely. You would interact with this contract. You would send it BNB the same way you would send it to KuCoin or PancakeSwap or whatever, and it will tax the BNB. And say you send 1 BNB and the tax, 100 BNB and the tax is 8%. It would take 8 BNB, and it would take that remaining 92 BNB, buy the tokens, and send you your tokens. And it would be tax excluded, so you're not going to get double taxed. You would just get that 8% tax because you're receiving a discount for using it. And that's how we're going to incentivize people to use it, is by providing them a discount to do so. You'll get a discount. You're supporting, the token itself better because you're not supporting sell events. So if you go through this route, it's better for the token and it's better for you because you're getting a discount.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a win-win, isn't it? And will this feature be available at launch?
It will, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. We have got David. I don't know if you're here with us, David Hunter. It'd be good to get your thoughts on this if you are available to chat.
Yeah, I'm here, buddy. Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so Chris, I do got a couple questions for you and everything, and I kind of popped in a little ways after you guys got started. But I did notice on the initial review and everything, for you guys to even consider a project and everything, I noticed you said it had to have a smart contract, it had to be Doxx or KYC'd, lot liquidity exists. You never ever set a number what your qualification is for the lock liquidity, if it exists, what period of time, because as you know, it can be set to 1 day, 30 days, 10 years, right? So is there a minimum that you require for that to be it as part of your initial review?
No, not at this time. I mean, it would really depend on the project and the way that they're using their project. I mean, if the liquidity unlocks in a week and they're planning to migrate to a different, blockchain or migrate to a different DEX, I mean, it's situation would dictate. So it's really a matter of getting in and talking to the team. But if they do have liquidity, it must be locked unless there's some type of plan for it for when it unlocks. Or if
Right.
it's
So
already unlocked, if they're in the process of migrating.
okay, so will you guys disclose that, because it's basically pass or fail, right? Or actually not fail because you won't even post them. But if they're going to be passed, will that be displayed on there that, hey, liquidity is only locked for 1 day, 30 days, so that users of your platform are going to be able to see this and say, well, okay, all this information is in one place, but you might not have that directly on there, right? So are you committing to putting that on there, whether it's 1 day or 10 years?
Yes, so if you go to our website and you can pull up some of the projects we've already vetted, they're in PDF format right now. We're working on version 2 of the site, which will be built in React, and we'll hope to have some, more intuitive type profiles. But the current site is built through WordPress. If you've ever built anything through WordPress, it's not super fancy. It can be, but ours is PDF reports for right now. We do put in there details surrounding their liquidity, so that will be public.
So is there going to, well, I assume whether it be in a PDF. I think it's a good call to move into something that was React and everything, and more set up like a dApp where it's like a decentralized form. Everything gets filled out and everything, which will make it easier for you guys to vet projects. My other concern was to even be considered, the project wallet must have multi-sig or 2 people to have access to that seed phrase. Let me tell you why that is a bad idea, and I'll be real quick with this. When you do a multi-sig, the same thing happens, because I heard you mention, well, if somebody dies or something like that.
Well, it doesn't have to be multi-sig.
Well, those are your 2 things that you put inside your initial review, right? The multi-sig
more than one person has to have access.
Right.
We recommend multi-sig.
Right. That's why I'm giving you my reason why multi-sig is not always a proper idea, right? I've seen so many projects, and just to give you a little background on me, I've been in this space over 13 years. I have several projects. I advise on a lot of bigger projects. I'm in the top 100. So I've been around for a long time, and that's one of the reasons why I've been here talking to you guys. So, and I'm familiar with Pat over at Apollo and everything as well. So I know the 2 private groups that you're going to be having, not an AMA, but your discussions and stuff with. So, but on the multi-sig and everything, you can run into a problem where if 2 people don't meet the exact consensus, even though there was a vote done throughout the community or whatever, and somebody walks away, right? So even with a multi-sig, that can set up a problem for a later or future date. Having 2 people with the ability to have access to a seed phrase is always a good idea, and have those redundancies in place if something does happen. I am not a fan of the multi-sig wallets, but to require one or the other, I think it needs to be clarified on there, right? I also do think it's a great idea with the discount swapper that you're doing, and I'm assuming you're going to be setting that up as a dApp right on your platform so they can go right there and then do the swap as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Did you say, do we think it's a good idea?
No, I'm telling you that I think it's a good idea to have the discount swapper in the way that you're doing it, instead of trying to do it inside of the contract. Yep. Yeah, okay. So it is possible and everything to do it inside the contract and do it on the buy side, not necessarily on the sell side, because at some point there is going to have to be a sell, but it is possible now to take the BNB on the front side. But I think this is a much better intuitive way to do it, doing the discount swapper, and it incentivizes the people to go to your site. My other question for you is, and I'll keep this short here, what is the benefit to, let's say that I'm going to go look on a platform and everything, I'm looking for a new token, I'm on their launchpad and I see it, and it already has the KYC, it already has the Doxx and all that stuff, it already has all the audits right there where I can see them, click them, and look at them. What is the benefit of having been listed on your platform as well as on the platform that I'm already launching on as a new project?
Additional exposure. I mean, why does anybody get an audit or vetting? They were looking for exposure. We're looking
right, but you're not doing the right, but you're not doing the audit of the KYC. Is my point. So I'm paying another company.
We'll be doing.
Well, I have to have those.
We won't be doing KYC.
Right, but I have to have those things before I can get an initial thing from you guys based off of your documentation. I have to have those when I come to you, even if you offer those right as a service. So I'm already paying for an audit, already paying for a KYC, and now I come to you and pay $150 just to be put on your platform. Is that the bottom line?
Not to be put on the platform, to get vetted, to get your project vetted.
Right, but you're going to be listing those vetted projects on your platform. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. I mean, you're not buying a listing. You're buying a vetting of your project. It will come with a listing in addition to other perks that you'll be able to then take advantage of.
Right, that's my point. For a new project and everything, to be coming onto your platform and everything, and the whole reason to be able to do a vetting service to you guys is obviously to be listed, because like you said, it does draw more exposure, right? But you would have to almost partner with all the platforms, not just Apollo, but a lot of the platforms, to be able to say, hey, this has been vetted by DeFi skeptics as well. So building that brand and building that name throughout the industry and everything. Because as I heard you mention Certic earlier without mentioning the name, but they are a name brand within the industry and everything. So I think that's going to be an uphill battle, not that it cannot be done, but getting your name out there and building and partnering with a lot of these launch pads, everything, I think is going to be key for your business. That way they can put a link saying that it has been vetted by DeFi skeptics. And with all that said and
Sure.
everything, I do wish you guys the best of luck and everything. I think it's a good model. I think there's more projects like this that need to be in the DeFi space and everything. One other thing to note and everything, what you're doing as far as pulling the liquidity from some of the other projects and everything, that has been done several times on ETH. It's been very successful. I haven't really seen it on the BSC network, but on the Ethereum network, I can get to the projects if you guys want to have a look at those and everything and see how they were able to do it. As you know, trying to pull a lot of liquidity and everything, even if you get a good portion of the tokens, you're never going to be able to pull it all the way back down to zero, right? Without having the bulk amount. So I think having that clarified and everything within your project and everything might be key as well. But again, I wish you the best of luck. I think what you're trying to do is good for the space, especially on the BSC side of things. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Best of luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome, David. Thank you. Appreciate your input as always. I feel like there was a few points that a few questions in there, but a lot of statements as well. I have got a couple more questions for you before we open up to general questions and stuff.
Sure.
So 50 to 60% of the initial funds that you're raising, they're going towards marketing, and you mentioned that's pre and post marketing. So have you got like an allocation split of how much you're going to put towards each of those in terms of pre and post?
No, I mean not at this time. Probably half and half, so and so. Maybe lean a little bit more on the pre side, but no like strict number.
Okay. And in terms of your marketing plans, have you got anything specific lined up?
I mean, we'll just be doing a ton of AMAs, a ton of Twitter spaces. We'll do some typical promoting type influencer related things. We're not looking to pay any of the typical ones you might see for the typical pump and dumps where you're paying 10 BNB to get your posts shilled to a room full of bots. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the bulk of those. That's not ones we're looking to interact with. Actually, I got recommended from you guys from Brian over at Coin Launch Lounge, which was a great AMA provider. I believe it was Brian. But that's the type of networking we're looking to do, is just find additional platforms to communicate with, to market through, to promote through, that have legitimate communities, to where you're not just wasting money talking to a room of bots. There's 26 people in this VC. You can go to some of the larger ones that have a couple hundred, but if you look through the user list, there's probably only about 25% of those people are real people. You can spot a bot in a VC very easily. Just click on their name, look, see if the profile username is hidden, because bots don't use real profile names. They use fake phone numbers that are just ran through a system. They don't actually set up a profile name, a username, unless they're like very intricate bots. But anyways, you can find them pretty easily. No profile picture, no public username. And just do this: shoot them a message and see if they respond. You'll never get a read receipt. It'll never come. And I mean, if it was a real person, you would probably at least likely get a read receipt sometime in the future. But with bots, you won't. So it's very easy to see. And we're just not looking to interact with some of those. But to answer your question, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a lot of AMAs. I feel AMAs and Twitter type spaces are the best way to get your project out there. It just allows you to talk to people and share what you're about, as opposed to just throwing some message on a wall and hoping people read it.
Yep, makes sense, and I agree with everything that you've just said. So that's good. Moving on to launch. Sorry, I think you've already mentioned this, but when did you say you're looking to launch the token?
It depends. So we'll be looking to open up the Tokenlist Fundraiser here, and then probably the next 24 hours or so. And we'll give that time to fill. After it fills, we'll look to do some more promoting AMAs, Twitter Spaces, things of that nature. Realistically, we're looking to launch the token probably within the next 2 weeks, maybe sooner. And it'll be fair launched, so we'll be launching with no tokens sold prior.
Okay, I've just realised I didn't. We didn't go into the token distribution, and I don't see that anywhere on your website or white paper. So
Yeah, it's in the white paper, I
is
believe,
it?
where you're located. It should be above that, right there. So very simple allocation. We have no team tokens, no
Okay.
crazy allocations. 75% is going straight to initial liquidity, and then 25% is getting locked away on a repetitive 3-month lock. If we don't use it within a year, we'll just burn it. But the purpose of this is, and in the event that we want to list on other dexes, we'll need tokens to do so. We'll already have BNB from platform revenue and taxes and things of that nature. But we will need tokens as well to supply liquidity. And then we also want to add a liquidity pool farm for our token on our website. And we'll need tokens to sort of fuel the reward pool for that. So that's what this 25% is all about. But if we do neither of those two things after a year, we'll just burn them.
Okay. It's quite refreshing to see such a simple distribution of token supply, and no team tokens at all. Then, so your
No.
obviously your revenue is generated obviously purely from the platform that you're creating then, and the
For sure. And I
vetting
mean,
and the,
I'll be putting money into the launch, just like everybody else.
interesting. That's good to hear. Sounds good. Okay, I guess I've just got one final question that we always like to ask here at the Legit Crypto Lounge. And for us, the long-term success of a project can't be achieved without a clear vision from you guys, the project owners. So my final question to you is, at what point does this project become a success to you?
Oh, well, it will become a success for me if we can reduce the amount of scams that are happening in this space. How you gauge that would be through people expressing how your platform has impacted their investing. You can't find a scam. If you found it, it's already too late. They've already scammed. Like you can't really find scams ahead of time. That's kind of the catch-22 of scams. But what you can do is incentivize interaction with legitimate projects, vetted projects, and thus give that user the potential to not get scammed. So if we get positive feedback from people that this is positively impacted their crypto journey, then in my mind it's a success.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. It's a nice answer. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, for the purposes of this recording, I'll stop it there, and we can open up to a Q&A. But I just want to say thanks a lot for coming along. Appreciate you taking us through your project, Skeptic, DeFi Skeptic, and I wish you all the best for continued success of it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.